Oh, yes.
1 sec, we might need to plug in.
Is that what that was?
I don't know if it was, but just to make sure.
Okay.
No, probably not. Not a chance in hell. Oh yeah, she's got a long ass cable. Damn. That's definitely something you bought on the subway.
20 feet?
Yeah, 10 feet or something. Yeah, you gotta love like when you need like a last minute charger and you're like, okay, I guess I'll take the one that's gonna power Penn Station next.
So we are live, but take your time.
On the side, there you go.
Come out on the side. Let's see, we come out on the side then.
It's like something being
I could.
All right, but I don't know why it's not getting us in the picture.
We're good. We're good. I'll switch it off. I'll switch it off. You're good.
Okay.
Boom. All right.
a little skewed, Joey.
We are here with Brewster Moonface.
Yeah.
What is going on, guys and girls?
Hey, what's up?
How is everybody doing tonight?
Doing great.
Excellent, man.
Yeah, glad to be on the show today.
Thanks for coming on. I dig that School of Rock sign in the back. I don't know why I'm just noticing that now. That's pretty sick. So
yeah, that's my door.
That's his day job.
Yeah.
I was gonna
We're
I was
at
gonna
one
say
of the locations.
that's what okay, awesome. That's what I thought. Now I'm dying to know who's Brewster, who's Moonface. No, I'm kidding. But horrible joke. Tell me the story. Tell me everything. Like, what is Brewster Moonface? How did it become what it is today?
Well, before Brewster, I was actually I was in a rock band beforehand, and two of the members were kind of interested in trying other genres and stuff. And then Jim here, he had been playing the blues some years ago, and also was thinking about getting back into it. So we decided to kind of get together, probably like 6 years ago. Kind of started off as like a jam session. Trying things out, and we really were liking how we sounded. And I had never done blues before. A bunch of the other members had never done blues before, and we just really liked it and kind of decided to keep going with it. And then decided to make it a band. And then it came time to naming the band. And people don't realize how hard it is, because with technology, you think of a great name and someone already has it. Someone already has an album name under it or something. So we're going back and forth. I was doing acting at the time. I had a casting director refer to someone very meanly as Stocky Moonface. I was like, wow, that's very descriptive. And we just kind of couldn't stop laughing over it. So jokingly, we called ourselves Stocky Moonface, and like back and forth in emails, we would just keep changing up the words and stuff. And our bass player at the time signed one email with a Punky Brewster Moonface as a joke. And we were really just kind of looking for a name. And we went, you know what, drop the Punky, keep the Brewster. And we decided on Brewster Moonface when we thought, oh, we'll change it if we ever need to. But it just kind of stuck around. And now we're Brewster Moonface.
So it really was just a mean joke.
Yeah, it was like a mean joke with inside jokes combined.
Well, I could tell nobody heard because I hit record after it happened, but there was constant jokes going on back and forth right before this recording anyways. So, quoting Rodney Dangerfield, it was great. So you can see the sense of humor is there, however many times a week you guys get together, I'm sure it's a riot. That being said, go around, tell me your names. I know Julie, obviously.
Zach. Jim.
Jeremy.
Awesome. And where is everybody from? Is everybody from the same area or?
No.
Well,
I'm from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn.
Nice.
Detroit, Michigan.
Wow.
Queens, New York.
and Sunset Park, Brooklyn.
Nice. There's only one outcast in there.
Well, yeah.
We were all consistent.
I've been in New York 20 years now,
Yeah.
so.
You
And
pretty
you're
much-
from
you're-
Detroit, so
Yeah.
I mean, like Detroit proper. So
Good
there's
warm-up.
definitely street cred there. Yeah,
Well, and you-
exactly. Good
And
practice.
you guys have been performing around New York quite a bit too. How's that going? Like how do you like performing in New York and the music scene in New York?
Love it. I mean, I mean, especially after having, COVID shut everything down, it's been great just watching live shows come back, watching people people are just really excited to be coming out and seeing live shows again. So it's great seeing that energy from people, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I love to perform, and I mean, Brewster, I think, is decidedly a live band. I mean, I guess of all these guys, I'm probably the rookie to the New York music scene. Jeremy here's the veteran. I mean, what have you been doing live music in New York for?
At least 50 years.
50 years. And, I mean, I think music has a very regional sound. And I mean, I think we try to capture New York sound, and you really can't make it anywhere but New York City to make the sound that sort of has that street vibe to it. And so I love performing here. I mean, I love performing anywhere, but it's a great vibe here.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
totally agree with that.
Absolutely. And like Jim, I mean, you've seen the industry probably evolve quite a bit over the years. What's your take on what it's looking like in New York right now based on the music scene?
Me or him? Me or the old man?
Jim.
I mean, mine, I have problems, and like any era, there's advantages and disadvantages. I mean, technology has revolutionized things. I wonder if we would get as much radio play or as much the ability to book the gigs as we do now.
Yeah.
But, the pay has taken a hit. There's just no way around it, I mean, album sales and everything. Our music is heard by a lot more people, but the revenues are way down with streaming. And I mean, I think that's just the nature of evolution.
Right.
I mean, there's other phenomenons of things like cover bands, tribute bands, open mics, things. They've always been a bit of a phenomena in the world. That's always a hard thing when you're kind of competing with those doing original music. But, in the end, I mean, I think people just appreciate, good music all around. And I mean, I think if you bring it correct, you bring it honest, and you bring it proper, people will appreciate it. And we've had pretty great response everywhere we've gone. Look, I mean, you play live music, sometimes you're playing for 3 people in a very large hall. And then sometimes you're playing for packed houses. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you don't live the nights where it's you and the staff,
Yeah.
But sometimes, I mean, it's just that sometimes even in those shows, you can have, I've had shows where it's, it is 3 people in the crowd and it's fantastic. And then you can have a show where it's, 300 people and it's a dud. So that's the other part of music. It's always unpredictable.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the old man. What about you? Would you agree with that? Like my take, I don't know, tell me if you agree with this, but like I feel like music is it's more cultivating now. I feel like people are actually more open, well, I guess you could say more collaborative, not cultivating. It's always cultivating, but collaborative. I could see musicians working together more now than I ever had before, especially in the New York market. Would you say that by like your experience throughout the years?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because there's so many different aspects
Right.
of show business, of live music. And a lot of the ones that I've been a part of were more commercial, cover bands, soul bands, rhythm and blues bands, backing up other artists. So I'm not sure about that, but I do think that what is true is that increasingly the music itself tends to kind of come together and overlap a lot. So I think what you're talking about, collaborative efforts, probably would support that musicians who might be coming from different backgrounds end up meeting and finding a lot of things in common. I think that's probably true these days.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Now you guys have traveled the country performing together, right?
Yeah.
What
Well,
would
Well,
this?
this actually is our newer rhythm section.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Zach and Jeremy here they are the newbies of Brewster right now. So we're looking forward to having more of the tour experiences that we have had of traveling around the country and stuff.
That's
That's definitely a great time we had then.
Absolutely. Zach and Jeremy, have you guys traveled the country quite a bit performing as well?
Well, I've not in recent times, but in my time, certainly I've been on tour down south.
Yeah.
And I've done a one-nighter in Cape Cod and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But as far as, extended, like, youth tours that last for years or something like that, no, I've never really done that. But a taste of that, you kind of get a feeling like, I'm not sure that this is for me, because when you're doing that, you're basically not doing anything else
Yeah.
in your life and sometimes in your music, unless you happen to be traveling with people who are very like-minded at, a particular time. Basically end up just trying to kill time. And that tends to be not that productive and tends to degeneracy in truth,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll give you one thing. You can hold that. Oh, man. Last thing. Yeah, between 2008, 2003, 4, 5. Between 2006 and 2014, I was signed to a project that I think played over 500 shows in that time. So it was a little under 100 shows a year. We did everything nationally, mostly Live Nation venues. And I couldn't even imagine being in a position to do that again nowadays. Just the industry is in such a
Right.
different spot. I'm physically in a different spot.
Yeah.
Financially in a different spot. It was just a very different time.
Yeah.
But putting the miles on, definitely played, up and down the Atlantic coast, up and down the Pacific coast, all through the Midwest, down in Texas, did some stuff up in Canada. And, looking forward to playing shows with this band. But I think nowadays, like, touring really has to start in a more local spot and branch out. And I think it also has to make more sense as to why you're touring, as Jeremy touched on, because, I mean, it's a money burner. It's a money burner.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. And I'm glad that I did it. But just personal note, when I was doing that, I remember, I think I was talking to Julie about it, when I was renting an apartment and I was home about maybe 40% of the year. And I was like living out of a suitcase when I was home, and I was living out of a suitcase when I was on tour. And it was a very weird limbo of kind of like, you can't settle into a home life, and when you're on the road, you want to be home. And when you're home, you miss being on the road. And I'm kind of glad to be out of that cycle right now. But this band has been getting a lot of, just with the new rhythm section, a lot of positive feedback as well. And I think that we do need to get on the road.
Right.
If it makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, and I agree based on what I've heard, and what would you say, I know this is a little redundant. I'm just bending on, the touring subject, but what would you say is your favorite place that you perform? It could be state, venue, whatever, throughout the years of your experience. You could starting on the left.
Oh, mine is definitely going to be Westport Saloon, Kansas City.
Yeah.
We got to do, we did a little tour out there a few years ago, and it was really great. Never been to Kansas City before. So it was just cute town in general, and then got to Westport Saloon, ran by this guy Travis. He was just awesome. He had a great spirit for musicians, great feeling to it. The place was just so high energy, tons of people, and also not just in terms of tons of people, just every kind of demographic of people. It very much felt like kind of this is where everyone came to hang out, not just a specific group, not just people you think normally, growing up in New York, there's so many options for people to do, and you're used to people just walking by the music club with no interest. And it was just great to kind of watch myself looking at people oh, they're not going to come in here, and they're like, oh, really? They're here to see some blues and bluegrass, and
Yeah.
And it was just super fun show. It was great audience, and it was just really fun time all around. And it was just nice to feel in an environment where you could tell that the artists were just really supported, and everyone was just a big fan of live music. It was just great to see that, and people taking a chance on bands who are doing original music, because that is hard. You do get a lot of people who will say, oh, yeah, you guys should do more covers, you should do this. So it's really nice when people want to take a chance on your music, because I mean, all the legends we all loved at one point, you know, someone took a chance on their original song. So it's really nice when people do the same.
Absolutely.
Jeremy? No, it's okay. I think I'll pass.
Too many years.
I mean, Julie may have stolen my answer, although I'm gonna go with Portland, Maine
Oh,
with this band. I had a lot of fun in Portland, Maine.
And
That
here I thought he was going to say Detroit, Michigan.
you know, I had a lot of fun playing music in Detroit, Michigan. You know, once those warrants expire, I might go back. But you know, no, but I mean, honestly, you know, Kansas City was this place that definitely hit us by surprise. We had a lot of fun at Baton Rouge. We had a lot of fun in Texas. Virginia, we had a lot of fun, but Portland, Maine really caught me off guard. It was just a really wild town. Same sort of vibe there, and the venue really struck me as, I forgot the name of it, and that's just
Blue.
Blue, the
Yeah.
place called Blue. Really just, it was a book anything type venue, and the only regret I had is that, I mean, for a kid from Detroit, you'd think cold would be something I'd be used to, but Portland in February was pretty damn cold. But other than that, I mean, that would be the one that caught me. Zach?
I think for this band, I would love to play some of the places like the Maryland, DC, Virginia areas that I've been down there with a bunch of different outfits, and like Julie was saying, they go out on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and they check out original music. You know, they're not doing the DJ thing; they're doing the live band thing. I think that a band like this would just be so well received down there. You know. Maryland, DC, Virginia, Texas, love it. One of the venues that caught me by surprise was I was in Tempe, Arizona, and played a place called the Marquee Theater. And it was just like, I thought it was going to be a hole in the wall show, and it was probably filled up maybe a little over half capacity. It was like maybe an Irving sized venue, maybe 1,200, but just the energy in the room and just like the welcomeness to all like the East Coast bands that were playing was just incredible. I really had a good experience there. And I would say pretty much, not to shit talk New York, but I mean, like my experience with live music, people liking it, New York would probably be on the bottom of the list of most accepting, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
every other state, I'm going down the list, I'm going up the list, Atlantic coast, Florida, the Carolinas, DC, Virginia, Maryland, all those places really like live music. You go up to Boston, they're even open to live music on the weekends.
I totally agree.
And then you're just in New York and it's like, what happened? Even Jersey, they love live music.
Oh, even no, the amount of times I feel like this band has even been told we're kind of like, oh, you're too loud. And then you see they booked a DJ and I'm like, DJs have subwoofers and big speaker. And it's like, but New York does do that of kind of like, I get it. You just want to pay for one person kind of, you know, and I think the fact that there is so many options here, it's hard to get that kind of live music culture that other cities have.
That's why I like seeing musicians like anywhere, New York, Connecticut, like New England area, working together, because like especially in New York, because it's like that market is hard to tap into, like you're saying, you know, like the fans are hard to get in New York, you know, but it's like, it's so funny, but like the bands that collaborate and stuff, they have the better reach, you know, because they're actually tapping off each other's markets and, you know, kind of sharing. And like that's what I like to see, and I feel like those are the types of markets we need to see more of, that because of, you know, that type of fan base.
Well, that's where I think technology and social media is a good, you know, pro for musicians in that way, because there have been ways that's how we have gotten gigs where, you know, you have a band that's visiting from nearby and then you tell them about the venue. We had one band from Seattle staying with us for a bit. They just needed some place to crash and stuff. And you do kind of do some kind of like barter and trade along the way with other musicians, which I do like that aspect. And that's that social media has made that given a lot more opportunity for that. I do feel like we wouldn't have played in the places we've played if we didn't have social media, if we weren't able to have people be able to see and hear our music, you know, instead of just kind of blindly guessing and stuff. So in that way, I think technology has kind of created a positive musicians gathering and collaborating together.
Absolutely, 100%. Now tell me a little bit about this song that is the Ballad of drum roll, The Ballad of Danny Gatton.
Up for Jim. That's the one you picked. A song okay, I mean, Danny Gatton was a great guitar player, actually out of Maryland. He was the guy who taught the man who taught me how to play guitar.
Wow.
He's out there. I mean, look, I encourage anybody listening, anybody out there to look up Danny Gatton's music, man. He had about 4 or 5 albums. He unfortunately passed due to suicide. Put that trigger warning that I see everywhere on your podcast. If you need help, do that. But Danny was he invented a form of music they called a redneck jazz, but he was a jazz, bluegrass, country blues type guitar picker. And actually what he was famous for at a club called the Crossroads in Maryland, I don't think it's there anymore, but it was called Challenge Danny Gatton. And guitar players would come, and one by one, they would sort of like have a guitar off with them. And I guess if you won, you drank for free. And one after another, nobody would be able to take down Danny. And he really was a sensational player. He never quite got the recognition he deserved. And I mean, I remember when he passed, it was all over the guitar magazines. I was quite young, and my teacher was obviously very broken up about it. And so I figured we ought to write he never got a requiem. That's the funeral mass. And I also figured he wouldn't like a real particularly sad song. So I had to do something up tempo for it. But it's one of those songs that I always, you'll hear it. We'll talk about it after. But yeah, that's sort of the saga of the song I wrote for Danny Gatton. And Julie loves it.
Well, that's amazing. And it's funny because I listened to a little bit of you guys before I had you on here tonight, but it'll be this morning when this airs, my bad, but this song I haven't listened to yet. Any song that gets played on the podcast I don't listen to because I like to give like a fresh view of it and everything. So we're gonna get right into The Ballad of Danny Gatton right here with Brewster Moonface. And then I know you're dying to know more about this group, so we're gonna get right back into it with them right here, The Ballad of Danny Gatton.
It's not working. It's even weird because we can't even stop. We're like pretending that we can hear it as we're like.
Yeah, it sounds like old jazz recording.
Right.
So good.
And those old OK records. Fortunately, I know it pretty well.
That was the Ballad of Danny Gatton by the Brewster Moonface. You can find that on all the major digital streaming platforms. That was dope. And I don't know how that had to kill in Baton Rouge.
Oh yeah. No, they definitely like that style going on. We had that's a song that gets people up and dancing, which I really like about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Like,
always a popular one.
yeah, like I didn't expect it to kick up like that. Like that was an awesome transition. I was like, whoa, that caught me by surprise. I love that.
That's always the one that catches me though, like, cause like what happens is I always take that. It's like I always take that faster than I can actually play.
Yeah.
So I always, because I have to do the transition. I'm so used to following the bass and drum, and I always end up having to lead that one. So these guys are always good enough to just play at any speed. And then I realize, like, oh man, I'm in a much faster tempo than I can handle. But we get through it.
Yeah, the kind of snowball performance. You're like, here we go.
Like, yeah, I gotta get a click track or something.
Well, it's funny because like you guys, like I read a little bit about your stories and stuff involved, and it's like they scream blues, like everything about you guys totally, like it wouldn't make sense in any other genre. Now, that being said, is like everybody like involved with the writing process, or is it more someone versus the other?
It's kind of different for different songs. There's been a couple where someone like either me or Jim or we've had some of like our old drummer stuff, like they'll come with almost like a complete song sometimes, but a lot of times I do feel it's kind of someone has a riff idea or someone has a song idea, and I'll usually kind of get like an idea of lyrics for it. So I do feel a lot of our songs are kind of they're kind of like Transformers. I feel like everyone kind of like it adds a little like piece to them, and the song kind of grows as you go over it, as you get new ideas for it. I mean, even with, I would say like with even with Zach and Jeremy here, we have songs that me and Jim have been doing since the beginning of Brewster, and even just getting two new people in the band, you still get new ideas. We're still switching up certain things on songs, volume or tones or transition and stuff. And so yeah, we keep it pretty malleable, and I feel like everyone kind of contributes their own little piece to it. If you have a song that's kind of all completed and ready to go, absolutely, we'll try it out. But I do feel a lot of times it is kind of a piece by piece making.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And like that song, like where did you record that one? The Ballad of Danny Gatton?
Oh, that was at Nova Studios in Staten Island by Jerry Farley, who he's recorded both of our albums that we have. He's a really big music guy in South Brooklyn. We play a lot at his Coney Island shows at the Coney Island Brewery. He's been in the music scene for a while now, and we've just become good friends. And so he had a gig set up at Nova Studios out in Staten Island, which beautiful place. It's a mansion, different like estate areas in it, very gorgeous. And that album, we actually recorded it live. So that was fun and tough because we had to all the songs, there was no starting and stopping. We just had to record the whole thing without tracking. And yeah, I mean, it was really fun. We were playing it. They were playing in the living room, and I was singing in the kitchen. That's how we were set up in the area that we had. And Jerry was underneath in the recording studio getting everything down.
That's when all that experience and discipline comes into play in a moment like that, where it's like you gotta hit it right this one time. That's it.
Oh heck yeah. And I grew up doing musical theater. I went to musical theater school, so I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely used to teachers being like, you get it perfect now at every time.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I could feel the kind of all of them on my shoulders a bit during it.
One thing about writing process you brought up, and even about recording, man, if I'm not gonna do a song, we're gonna actually work on a song Jeremy brought us after this is done tonight. And I prefer to just have the right musicians and maybe an outline of something, and it's let the musicians do the work. I don't like to be too set in stone on anything, because if you have guys who are talented enough or have the experience enough, the song will take shape if you have the right framework, in my opinion. And I would never come in with a bass line for Jeremy to do or tell Zach exactly what I want on drums. I figure they're creative guys enough and have enough experience to figure out exactly what it's going to be. At least that's my theory on it. And that's how our songs are taking shape. And as for the studio, I think it works the same way, in my opinion. And there's this kind of this new trend I've been seeing, and I don't like to be an old guy who puts down anything, and I don't.
Yes, you do. Okay.
I'm on the radio, man. Like, let me have an illusion here. But it's just the Yankees, But I see a lot of bands, they go right kind of to the studio after they just start getting together. And I actually think the studio is something that should kind of come after the discipline of playing a lot and of performance. And our second album, we didn't do live, we tracked it. But, at least that's my theory on it is that, you really want to get to know each other very well. And you really want to develop and see where a song is going to develop over time. And it's funny, because the second album we made with a different rhythm section, and then Jeremy and Zach joined our group, and the songs that we only recorded a few months ago are already taking a different shape that we love. That's the way it should be. And that's every musician that comes and goes in a group, I feel sort of adds their own fingerprint. It's like a family member. At least that's my theory on it, and that's the way I like it to go.
Well, it's almost like family recipe, kind of like everyone comes along and you kind of add your own ingredient to it, and we like to encourage that aspect of it, because I do agree with Jim of like everyone kind of immediately jumping in the studio, and I do think you get a better bonding as a band when you do live shows, because you do have those sink or swim moments, and Jim talks about taking off too fast in a song. There is a kind of bonding thing that, but we all pulled it off. We were able to do it. It's nice to know, if you get lost in a song, that your bass player's got you, or your drummer's got you back on cue. And there is something kind of it does create a certain chemistry to the band as well. And then everything affects music, whether we know it consciously or not. So I think those experiences actually do add to the songs.
Well, and it all comes to back to today's industry, and I feel like that's what separates the old industry from the new industry too. Like, you had the old musicians that were just musicians, they were it was just a guitarist or just a bassist, if anything. Now you have, DJs that are producers, guitarists that also DJ, that also drum, and it's like that also, engineer and everything. So it's like, it's all about knowing your roles. And I feel like you guys are a great representation of chemistry, because you guys, it's not even about knowing your roles. You know where you want to be, and you know what you want to allow, which is great, because that's the collaborative, effect that we were speaking of earlier. Now, what would you like to see more of? Obviously we were talking about the music industry earlier. What would each of you like to see more of in today's industry that you don't see?
Less bringer shows.
Yeah.
Less bringer shows. So for people not in it, bringer shows are basically, you have to bring people in order to pay. And and unfortunately, that's what I mean about the music scene in New York. I do feel is unfortunately plagued with a lot of places that are kind of putting it all on the musician to, fill a venue and stuff. And it is kind of one of those, it's like getting a first job, you need experience to get experience kind of thing. You're like, we're trying to build up our band, a lot of places, you mean you can't bring, 40 people to this place on a Tuesday night at 11 o'clock, And then they do a lot of deals of, the first 10 people we get paid for, and then we split half the door. So, and it's a shame, because a lot of these venues I would love to play at and stuff. And I really wish that would kind of cut down on more, and that venues, as I said, would just take a bit of more of a chance on bands and give them the chance before, because what happens on those live bringer shows is you mostly just end up with bands that perform two times a year, so they can bring that amount of people, but it doesn't really help working bands or bands that are trying to tour and move up. It's just kind of a blockade for us.
Well, it's like the musicians are the reason that most of these venues are even making money, so it's like, and in general, it shouldn't be paid from the musicians. It's from the people the musicians bring. That is ridiculous. What about you, Jeremy?
Well, I'll go to the other end of the business and say, I think over in recent decades, these at the top level, the skill of some of the musicians is like beyond belief. You continually see things, you go like, well, I wouldn't have thought that was possible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think, you're not wanting to sound just old, but there seems to have been lost in that process of skill a lot of the soulfulness, which is the reason that people listen to music in the first place. So that even though the skill in the last few decades is off the charts, really how much stuff is things that strike you as timeless, that are going to be with humanity as long as humanity exists and that kind of thing. And more, it's just like, wow, that's really great, but it doesn't move me. And to me, if it doesn't move you, who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Wow, what am I supposed to say? I ended you. Money, we need more money. I think we're good, send us money.
Yeah.
Pay your artists. I mean, it is kind of ridiculous. People, think about the pandemic and what got you through. It's music and movies and books and CD. It's like it's artists and creative people who are doing this. And I think it does need to be seen as a trade. Pay people properly for the work they do.
Right.
Yeah, so what I've noticed is that a lot of people think that musicians and artists in general, they just do their art and like people tend not to think about how is this person going to pay their bills?
Right.
How is this person going to pay their car insurance? How is this person going to like feed themselves every day? It's like, we do this because we love it and we walk this road because it's a labor of love, but also we also like everybody else, the intention isn't to do it for free and have no money at the end of the day. Like the intention is to do it and put your all into it like anybody, any tradesman.
Right.
And to go home with a fair day's pay. And that is something that I think is kind of lost. They're doing what they love. Isn't that great? Like, let me not pay them. Like, that's great. But they love it. They're doing what they love. And that doesn't pay the bills, frankly.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's
My
like,
landlord will not accept that.
Right.
it's like, yeah, you love it, but it's still work. Like it's not,
Yeah.
it's not like it's effortless just because you love it.
Yeah, would you tell like a carpenter, like, that's an excellent job. I can see you're loving what you do. Like, have a great day. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's me.
No.
And those guys said it all. I mean, really, yeah, man, I'm not even sure I have an answer beyond those. I mean, those are all dead on answers. I mean, I certainly would love to see more of this. I'd love to see more people talk about things like this. Music is certainly a hobby for a lot of people. I mean, music should be in every single school. Music should be part of the government's discussion as something that should be preserved, not something that should be cut.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think also we as people need to remember that like there are things that are timeless out there. There are things that we really do remember. I mean, what is important to us. And I also think that, we need to try and build each other up as musicians as much as possible. We also need to kind of keep that line between the amateur and the professional a little bit more. But it's all I can really, it's just the way I think of it sometimes, but that's the only thing I can really think of to say at this particular point. These guys said it all.
Absolutely.
Or I guess another one. Also, stop telling musicians if you like their stuff that they should try out for reality TV shows, and just you can buy their T-shirts, you can buy their merch.
Right.
We're out there already doing it.
Right.
Because people don't realize. I know it's meant with the best intentions. I know it's meant absolutely as a compliment, but I think people forget the kind of reality TV aspect that's thrown into those shows, and the parts that you just don't see behind the scenes. So it's very easy to get fooled by it, but I think I know me and a lot of my friends, they'll have like the same kind of thing, and it's like, what, we have material out there, and just kind of support what people are doing now, and that helps more.
Absolutely. It just sucks because the streaming platforms we're all distributing on nowadays aren't really paying what they should. It sucks because platforms like Spotify are great platforms. I love it. Apple Music, I love them all, but it's just like, how are they paying musicians like pennies? and they're making like it's insane. You know, obviously the bigger companies behind it make money, but it's just like I don't understand how that's still going on. You know, so that being said, what platforms have you guys really found the most success on as, you know, Brewster Moonface?
Well, I mean, you know, the one, it's always so hard because like, you know, I really hate to like, you know, rah any corporation and you know,
Yeah, right.
without strong incentive, but,
Right.
you know, which I don't have. Yeah, I mean, you know, honestly, the ones that seem to pay the best revenue has actually been the iTunes downloads and the Apple Music.
Yeah.
The ones we hit the highest profit margins on are the direct sale of the CDs.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I encourage people whenever you can buy off Bandcamp. That's been obviously the highest profit margins. Or, you know, come to our shows and buy directly from us is obviously the best ones. But, you know, I find that Spotify is among the lowest, even though that seems to be the one that actually is the most popular. So we get the most downloads from it, but it actually sort of pays out the least revenue. Amazon Music is right in the middle. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones that I think sometimes are just making up words.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's
I
so
don't
like
know what a Deezer is.
so, well, yeah, me neither. I don't even know why that one's on there. But the CDs are actually selling for you guys then. Like that's actually like CDs are still in then, you would say?
Well, the advantage of being a blues band is you tend to get an older fan base who still has CD players.
Demographically, yeah. Yep. Yeah, that is true.
I'd
Well,
love to print some records, but the cost to actually press a record is so high.
Yeah.
I've been reluctant, so that may be in the future, but.
yeah, I'm definitely envious. I'm envious of the labels that are going like totally carbon neutral with it too. Like I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. You know, but I couldn't even imagine what the upfront cost on that and the whole, you know, logistics of it is. That's probably such a pain.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
So what do you guys have coming up sometime soon? Like what's going on like this winter? Do you guys have anything planned? What's going on?
Yeah, we have a couple shows that are gonna be going on. So we have next one that's gonna be coming up is October 1st, Saturday, and it's at a place it's called Queens Night Market. It's Queens International Night Market up in Flushing Park, Queens. Really, Flushing Meadow, Queens, and it's really great. Just place to try all sorts of food. They got live music going on. It's just a great kind of day out. A night out kind of thing. It's night hours, and it's one of our favorite gigs to play. They've been building up for the past few years, and now it's really done, you know, up to like 10,000 people a week coming. So it's been great watching that grow. So that's October 1st. Then we're also going to be playing at the New York City Marathon again this year in November. I think that's November 5th. It's a Sunday. So we're actually going to be playing down in Brooklyn at mile marker 2, 86th Street and 4th Avenue. Then we have going on in November 12th, we're going to be playing at Silvana in the city. And then to be announced, we're going to be playing a show in Staten Island for Maker Park Radio in November, but that's to be announced time-wise. And then the last one we have is December 17th at the Shrine up in Harlem. So we got about 4 or 5 shows coming up for the next few months.
That's amazing. No, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you guys live. I advise everybody else, go see them. You can find them at BrewsterMoonface.com or at Brewster Moonface on any of the social handles. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Julie, for coming on the Music Mondays podcast. And I look forward to hearing more from you soon.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Same to you. Thanks.